Amazing audience, we are live with Amit Shah. Amit is originally from New Jersey, but he came across to New York, to have this conversation with us. Going to be fun. This guy is amazing. Amit, great pleasure to connect with you.
Absolutely.
My friend. Yeah,
of
face
course.
to face.
Yeah, finally.
Wow. You look better face to face.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Well, do tell me, what's an update? What from the last time we spoke? To
Absolutely,
what's up now? What are you
Sure.
up to? Yeah.
So I think we spoke about a year and a half ago now. I think it's been,
It's
right?
almost been 2 years.
So when we first spoke, we were still building our consulting business, right? So we were focused on figuring out how to scale, to a much faster, rapid growth phase, right? And finding a way to really, amplify, our key competencies. So I think, since then till now, we've been able to mature our infrastructure, right, for consulting business, which has been very, very helpful to let us really focus on building the company, right, and not just a sector of the business, right, which is very, very helpful.
Now tell us the name of the business and tell us what you do.
So Incipient is a company. We're based in Rutherford, New Jersey, which is about 30 minutes, from New York City. And we're working with a lot of different types of customers. Some of the things we're doing are really exciting. So since the consulting business has really matured and stabilized in terms of the infrastructure and having the right people grow, right, and having the right people know when to press the gas pedal and when to hold off, right, it really helps to let us focus on the big picture. So that brings us to what we're working on right now, and that's where the big focus is going. So we're doing a lot of R&D and also a lot of application development on our product, which is a product that's referred to as SKUview.
SKUview.
Yeah.
That's small. Sounds
so
interesting.
SKUview is a drone technology product. So we've built a software that utilizes drone hardware to complete physical inventory check and inventory management related work in a warehouse. So in the supply chain process, and more specifically in warehouses, you have to have a guy that's going up and down, left and right in all different areas of the warehouse to complete inventory check, inventory management work, inventory control, right, to make ssure the inventory management is
brilliant.
Proper compared to what the actual is, right? So instead of having a guy go up and down, left and right, and having him feel like he's killing his time without doing things that really he shouldn't be doing.
And it's pretty unsafe as
well,
right?
It's very unsafe. So what we're doing is we're using a drone that's able to fly to X height, and it's able to do the same stuff. So the guy standing on the floor is able to complete all the work without having to use a forklift and looking at boxes, scanning each thing at a time. It saves a lot of time. So we're focused on the automation of supply chain processes.
Love it.
So we started developing this thing about six to 8 months ago, and we've come a very long way. For about 8 months. So we're really, really excited to take this thing as far as it can go.
Yeah, where can people connect via our website to find out more?
Sure.
Yeah,
so we have a site called skuview.co, and that's for the product website.
Yeah, we'll put the link in there. It sounds like a big name, but how would you do SKUview? How do you spell that?
SKUVIEW.
Okay, SKUview. All right. One of the segments we love to cover is your own unique shoes. All right. So I looked at your shoes.
Okay.
Yeah, they look pretty battered, if I must say so. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, you do work those shoes, right?
I do.
And, it covers your own unique struggle in terms of some people see your shoes, but they aren't able to see your journey, your struggles, right? Share with us, even for those that are in that same position, tech startup, even just business startup, struggles that you've experienced through the process.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, there's plenty. So, I think generally when anybody starts any sort of, business, right, I think you have a challenge of the business itself, right? But the business that we're in is quite unique, right? We have the challenges of being a business, and we also have the challenges of being a technology company.
Yeah.
And if anybody knows anything about technology, they know it's not smooth or easy, right? So we have two levels of challenges, right? But, I think it definitely keeps us, on our feet, and I think it, gives us the edge of really knowing when to, advance and when to push through, right? And when to really say, this is not, worth, allocating any money to, right? And really having a good grasp on knowing when to push and when to pull, I think it really helps us a lot.
How do you think you, as a young man, you're pretty young, right? Coming into this space, how have you affected the space? We understand the space has affected you, right?
Sure.
How have you affected the space?
I think technology industry in general, I think over the last 10 years and also 10 years going forward from now, right? So overall, let's just say 20 years, right, worth of historical data, for example, right? Historical data being last 10 years and what we can forecast based on what's happening, all the trends and all the changes right in the market, right, 10 years forward.
Yeah.
Let's just take 20 years for example, right? 20 years, I think there is going to be a very, very vast change on how technology is being used, right? But I think more specifically, I think what's happening is the companies that are identifying how to use technology in a more effective way to really grow it and to amplify the use and the efficiency of it, right, is going to really change how things are done, right? And the biggest thing that has to happen, right, is all these big technology companies, if you look at Dell, right, if you look at HP, if you look at Amazon, Microsoft, all these guys, right, all these big companies have a very, very unique problem, right, which is they're big companies, right? So naturally, as very large companies, you can't adapt to technology as fast as a smaller guy can, right? In Microsoft, if there's a change, right, in direction or there's a change in focus, you have to talk to 10 million people before it can actually happen. And even then, that's the beginning of it, right? So I would say as a smaller technology company, as a medium-sized group, I think we have the advantage of being able to, really say, this is a great area to focus. Let's do some R&D, and then from there, let's put into motion, right? Let's not go to our board of directors, or let's not go to our management team, our leadership team, right, and go through all the bureaucracy processes and politics and all these things that come with, many people having different agendas and all those things. So I would say uniquely, I think smaller companies have that advantage. But I think, the way I look at technology and the way I look at product development and the way I look at product strategy in terms of market positioning and those things, I think my focus comes from a very unique way. And I think I focus on the use case, right? Everything that you develop, right, has to have a very clear, binary use case to how it's going to be implemented and how it's going to be used. And uniquely, it has to be very simple, right? And I think the way I look at technology, right, is very, very simple way, and it's from a very use case prominent perspective, right? Drone, right, flying in a warehouse, right, doing the work that a person's going to do. It's very obvious, right? It makes sense, right? Even if you don't know supply chain or you don't know warehouse operations, it's going to make sense, right? So I think when you build and work on projects, right, that are very obvious and from a very use case centric perspective, it brings a lot of value to not just the market and the customers, but to other companies and other younger people to really understand how they can also leverage, right, younger technologies and younger, skill sets.
Where did that level of maturity come from?
I think it's a very interesting question. I get asked a lot, and I think a part of it has to do with the way I've been grown up, and I think it also has a lot to do with my ability of not being interested in education when I was really young. Right, when I was really young, I was a terrible student, and if you ask anybody that knows me, they'll say the same thing. And that same trait of not interested in education carried all the way through college. I graduated college with probably the worst GPA you'll ever meet, right? So my point is that, I think that uniquely, I think I've always known the interest that I've had, and I think being able to execute the skill sets, right, that I thought I possessed from a young age and seeing it go into action, right, and seeing it actually work, right, and being able to, use that same skill sets to grow and amplify, right? I think it's a very different skill to do it versus just to have a skill set on your resume, right? It's very two different things. So I think being able to amplify and, in some capacity, right, doing R&D on what's in my interest, right, is a big thing. And I think being able to leverage that own R&D skill set in, going through all the different failures, pivots, right, and, seeing what works, what doesn't work, right, and going through that process is one thing. But to go through that process and not get frustrated and to keep a level of calm, right, mentally, right, is a very, very important skill set that not a lot of people can do.
You've created your own degree program.
It's not just something that I've done. Plenty of people have done it. Mark Zuckerberg has done it, profoundly well, right? Bill Gates has done it very well. Jeff Bezos has done it very well. The guy that started Infosys, one of the largest technology IT consulting companies, right, has done it. Deloitte, all these big guys, Cognizant, right? All these guys have done it, right? So it's not that I'm the only one that's doing it, right? There's plenty of people that have done it, but I think naturally it tends to be something that's not really spoken about in terms of people that do it. I think 9 times out of 10 people that do it, they just think it's obvious, right? They're just doing it because that's the only way, right? I think it's very similar for a lot of successful and true entrepreneurs, right? And success doesn't just mean that they've built a $100 billion company or a $100 million company. That just means that that's the right trait and the right ingredients, right, and the recipe that you have to really make it work effectively.
Would you agree that it applies to your uniqueness?
Oh, absolutely. I think it applies to a lot of things, and I would most definitely say it affects the well-being of the individual as well. Thank you. I think generally, entrepreneurs, right, have to have a level of confidence, right, in themselves, right, and the confidence in yourself, right, also has to do with a good aspect of your own well-being, right. mental well-being, right? Physical well-being, right? And all these things, right? So all these things are in balance, right? Physical well-being doesn't mean you got to be, The Rock, right? Yeah, but of course, some people are, right? And that's great, right? But you got to have a balance in a very effective way for you to really understand, right, where you truly are, and knowing that you have a very good plan of action, right? That's executable, right? And not just paralyzing yourself in thoughts or creativity and those things. That's even more important.
Yeah. Amit Shah, folks. When you heard that this Caribbean guy was coming to meet you, from all the way from Trinidad, what did you think?
I thought it was very interesting. I've never met anybody that came from the Caribbeans, right? I've had friends from the Caribbeans, definitely, but I've never had somebody travel specifically for speaking, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's very unique and very interesting.
What is one of the things you are really, really excited about right now?
We actually just set our 5-year plan, so people have been telling us, forever, we just set our 5-year plan, I say, yeah, we'll get to it, it's no problem, it's no rush, right? And I think, in the last 6 months, we've really finally nailed it down. So naturally, right now as Incipient, we have 2 different entities, right? We have the consulting entity and we have our product entity. So consulting entity, it's growing very nicely. We're seeing some remarkable growth. If
great.
we had shareholders, I think they'd be kissing our feet. But on the product front, which is where our big focus is, right? We finally set a goal in 2023. We want to take the product public. We want to IPO. So we think that between what we're doing between now and the next 3 years, it'll line up, and put us in a playbook to actually make that happen.
That sounds great. I love it.
Yeah.
Folks, Amit Shah, amazing conversation. We're actually in a Marriott right now. Yeah? No? Sheraton? Oh, okay.
Close enough.
So, amazing audience. Again, Amit Shah. Amit, before we leave, before you close, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Yeah, I think people are probably watching this show, right? Are going to be people that are either remotely interested in starting a business or people who have failed in starting a business. I think that generally tends to be the 2 categories of people, or people who are just trying to figure out what they want to do in life, right? That's the 3 buckets of people. And I think, the biggest thing is, not rushing, and definitely not settling, for less than, what you think you deserve, and really, really figuring out and honing in on what your true interest comes from and where your energy also lies, right? If energy isn't present and passion isn't aligned with energy, and if those 2 things aren't aligned with execution, it's as good as not having the energy or the passion, right? So I think being able to really take time to really understand yourself and really being able to figure out what you're interested in, I think is honestly the most important thing that you can do. Just because passion and personal well-being and personal interest and personal desires, right, as a person, is what makes a successful company. A successful company doesn't make a successful person. A successful person makes a successful company.
Love it. Well done. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
That was great. Amazing audience. I get to have some fun conversations. I tell you. Amit Shah, folks, out.